last time.
But I thought this time we'll instead of starting the new chapter, because we were on the last verse of chapter 16 last time. 17 and 18 are very much sort of summarization of the Gita in a way, you can say. So they've given a little different angle, but it's really nothing really new, but a summarization, an interesting summarization. So we'll start that next time. Because I think next time I don't think we can have a session because I'm going to be traveling. So the one after that, we'll start. So today I thought we can just, if you have any Q&A, we can talk about anything you want to talk about. The alternative also is that I have started looking at studying in my Sanskrit class. I started studying the actual commentary of Shankaracharya on the Bhagavad Gita, and he has a very interesting um, kind of introduction. So we can go through that if you want, if you're interested. But first, maybe any question from last time, because we didn't even have a recording. So, and it was a pretty complicated or involved sort of concept. We got into philosophical things like means of knowledge and praman and all that. Or any other question on anything else, you know.
I think it would be good to summarize again what was discussed last time, and
Exactly.
it'll be good to have it recorded as well so that we can go revisit and ask deeper questions. So if you don't mind.
No, no, no,
Uh,
not at all, not at all. I mean, I can
yeah.
summarize it. I mean, basically, when we say praman, right? Praman is a means of knowledge. So all that everything we know by deploying a means of knowledge. We can't have knowledge without having a means of knowledge. Which means, so what are our means of knowledge? Let's say if you want to know and experience is the same thing. It's not, think about it, knowing, experiencing, thinking, it's all it's all the same thing because knowledge is involved. When you experience something, you know it. That is why you experience it, right? Even a feeling that you experience, you know that feeling. That is what experiencing means. I experienced it, meaning I'm not ignorant of it. I'm aware of it. That is what is called knowledge. When you know something which is very conceptually deep, some deep knowledge of Vedanta even, that is a thought, a knowledge, something cognition, and you're aware of it. That's why it's knowledge. So knowledge in Vedanta doesn't mean like when we were growing up, we thought knowledge means somebody is very knowledgeable and another person is not knowledgeable at all. It's not about that. There is no person who is not knowledgeable in Vedanta because everybody is alive. And whether they are aware of some deep concepts of Vedanta or physics or chemistry or whatever, or whether they are aware of just their feelings, or whether they are aware of what they are seeing around them, they are having knowledge. They have that awareness, they have that experience. So that is called knowledge. We, in our own terms, we classify some knowledge as deep knowledge, high knowledge, and other knowledge as, basic knowledge or ignorance or whatever, but not Vedanta. We are looking at it from the perspective of experience. So the dumbest of us, even let's say I was totally dumb, I still see things. So I am employing my means of knowledge, which is my eyes and my mind, to see something. So just because I see something, I'm aware of it. So then I have knowledge about it. I may not have deep knowledge of it, but I have knowledge of it. I know that it exists. It's there, right? Similarly, I may have a feeling I'm getting angry. I can't have that. I can't even get angry till I know anger. you know, I can't experience anger till I till I know it. If I didn't have the mind which can sense the angry thoughts or angry emotion, I wouldn't feel angry. I wouldn't feel anger. So knowledge is knowledge in Vedant, the way that we are thinking about it, talking about it now, is a very basic thing which is always happening. It's part and parcel of living. You can call knowledge equal to experience in this particular case. So everybody, the dumbest of us and the wisest of us, we all experience. That is what life is. There is no life without experience. Everybody who's living is experiencing, unless you're in a deep coma. That, of course, can happen, or in deep sleep. But otherwise, you're experiencing. That is life. So Vedanta starts from there. That this is a very key, interesting concept in Vedanta. It's in fact everything in Vedanta boils down to this experience. When we say अच्छे काम करो ताकि अगले जन्म में अच्छा कुछ मिलेगा, why? You're saying the next janam, the experience that you're going to have is going to be pleasant, a good experience that you like. That's what it means. What that is what punya means. Pap means a bad experience that you're going to have, right? Or an unpleasant experience, an experience that you do not want. But it's all experience. So right now you're listening to this class, you're experiencing. So how does this experience or this knowledge happen? It needs a, let's say, it needs a means of knowledge, a praman. That's called a praman. So in our case, the means of knowledge, if I'm talking to you, your ears are your means of knowledge. You're hearing what I'm saying. A supporting means of knowledge also could be the eyes because you're looking at my expressions and my gestures and all that, which is supporting that. But in addition, you're applying your mind. Your mind is also in part of the chain because very often I'm sure it happens that I'm talking and you guys are somewhere else. So the words are going into your ears, but that's all. Then later on, when you listen to the recording, you'll say, "Oh, acha, acha, ye bhi bola tha isne," you know. That's because your mind was somewhere else. Your mind was not engaged as a means of knowledge. So we always say in Vedanta, the means of knowledge is the five indriyas, the eyes, ears, touch, etc., backed by the mind. Backed by the mind. That's our apparatus. That's our with which we use to experience everything, everything in this world. Without that apparatus, there is no experience. Okay. So you can say, where does Vedanta even? How do you even know Vedanta? Like Vedanta, they say is a means of knowledge, right? But in order to even know Vedanta, you need these apparatus. If you don't listen to the words of Vedanta, listen to your teacher. If you don't read it, and if you don't apply your mind, focus your mind on it, if your mind is not backed by it's not backed by your mind, then there is no knowledge of Vedanta. So every other means of this five senses backed by the mind is called perception. In Sanskrit, it's called pratyaksh. Pratyaksh praman. Prati aksh. Aksh means eyes. Prati means जो आंखों के सामने है. Pratyaksh becomes sandhi pratyaksh. So eyes is just a means of saying. Eyes means here, eyes is just the first of the five senses as they are listed out. So that's why they use eyes. But when they say eyes, they mean eyes, ears, taste, skin, everything. So those senses backed by the mind, by the manas, is pratyaksh. So pratyaksh is actually called the mool pramana. Because without pratyaksh, no knowledge is possible. Everything else is gone. Like you can say my sense, I have a means of knowledge. I'm reading something, I read about it, and that's how I know. Somebody told me, that's how I know. So that person is my means of knowledge. No, he is, yes, sure, but you have to listen to that person. So it has to go through your pratyaksh praman. Even inference, your inference has to go through your mind. Logic has to go through the mind. So you can't do anything without this pratyaksha. So it's called the mool pramana. Mool means the root, the most important pramana. But I think the point we were trying to make last time and how this applies to ourselves is before you can use this apparatus of your pratyaksha praman to know anything, you have to be there. In other words, the pratyaksha praman, the senses and the mind are just an apparatus. They are not the ones who know. When you use your eyes to see something, it's not your eyes that see. Eyes are just a means of knowledge. But who is the knower? So there's always three things involved. There is the object that you want to know about or experience, the object of experience. There is the means of knowledge, which is, let's say, simplicity's sake, this pratyaksha praman, the pratyaksha apparatus. And there's the knower, you. If you didn't exist, what good is this means of knowledge? It's like, you put a nice camera, उसकी भी अंदर film ही नहीं है. If there is no film in the camera, what good is the nice lens? Picture तो film के ऊपर बनती है at the end of the day. If there's no camera, there'll be no film. There'll be only a film and no picture on the film. That's fine. If the camera is all, the lens is gone, then you'll have an out of focus, distorted, double image, all of that, but you'll get something. But if there is no film, what's the point of a camera? So, what's the point of this means of knowledge if there is no you? So the question is, who comes before? Like every other knowledge comes to you because you use the means of knowledge. But you use the means of knowledge. How can you be known by the means of knowledge? Because you you are before. You're before the means of knowledge, right? You're the ones who decided to deploy. I'm going to move my eyes there to see that, or I'm going to cock my ears and listen to that. But like who? So you, this means of knowledge is good for everything in this world, everything except you, because you are already there. You decided to use this means of knowledge, whether you consciously decided or subconsciously decided or whatever. You're using the means of knowledge. So that's the point I was trying to make. That this means of knowledge, which is a wonderful thing for us, through which we experience everything in this world, without which we'll say, हम तो जिंदा ही नहीं है. Because if this means of, what does behoshi mean? What does it mean to go into deep state? That means your means of knowledge has been cancelled out. That's what it means. To be unconscious means what? That means your means of knowledge is gone. That's why you're unconscious, right? What we think is we are gone. That's a mistake we make. We think when we go unconscious, we are gone. Actually, what Vedanta is saying is you are nowhere gone. You're there. Just your means of knowledge is gone. Because your means of knowledge is gone, that means your eyes are not working, ears are not working, mind is not working, nothing, these things are not working. There is no experience. So you are in a state where is no experience. But it doesn't mean you're not there. Because then when the means of knowledge come back, then you start experiencing again. Or when you're sleeping deep sleep, the means of knowledge is gone. But when you wake up, then the means of knowledge comes back again. That's what waking up means. The mind suddenly wakes up, it becomes active, the eyes and ears, everything becomes active, and you experience world again. But you've never had this sense that I was not there, that I went away, I was gone. That sense is never there. In fact, actually, you come to think of it, even space and time, you get to know through means of knowledge. If there is no means of knowledge for you, there is no space or time even. So, space and time is as much part of this world which you experience through your means of knowledge as anything else. That's why when there is no means of knowledge, when you are sleeping, deep sleep, there is no space, no time, because there's no experience. So, the question is then, how do you know yourself? Is there a means of knowledge to know yourself? Actually, maybe, can there be a means of knowledge to know yourself? Because even if there was some fantastic means of knowledge from somewhere to know yourself, who will deploy that means of knowledge to know yourself? Right? So you are there. Means of knowledge is used to say, is that thing there? Is my anger there? Is the tree outside there? Is the uh, keyboard in front of me there? You know that through your means of knowledge. But am I there? You can't deploy a means of knowledge to know. Because the only thing you can say is you can think about it and say, yeah, you know what? If I was not there, then who is seeing from this means of knowledge? That's all you can say. So you can say, no, yeah, I am there. It stands to reason and it makes sense. And it feels true to my intuition that I am there. I exist. Because if I was not there, there would be no experience of the world. There would be no world. Okay. So this was the first point we made last time. That there can be no means of knowledge to know yourself. But there can be no doubt that you are there. Because if you were not there, you would not know anything. Nothing would be known if you were not there. Correct? It's like a camera without a film. Is this clear? Any questions so far? Right? Everybody is nodding. Rajiv,
Yeah, yeah, I'm good. Yeah.
Sanjay is good. Mukta, Kiki, okay. So then we said, all right, this knowledge of myself that I must be there, I am there, because otherwise I wouldn't know anything. And it also feels right. I exist, I'm there. I like it's just taken for granted I'm here. It feels right. This knowledge is called Samanya Gyan. So this much I know that I'm here. But what am I don't know. And I can't know because there's no means of knowledge to know. Like if I somebody told me apple is there, I have a means of knowledge to look at the apple and say, oh, it's round or the shape and this color. I can deploy my means of knowledge to know it more. Somebody says moon is there. I can deploy a telescope to get a better understanding of the moon. I can send people to the moon who can analyze the samples of rocks over there. They can do their analysis, come back and give me knowledge. That's a Shabd Pramana, right? That's a knowledge given to me using a Pramana called Shabd Pramana, which is the testimony of an expert. So I use that, and that's how I know, okay, moon is better. So I'm deploying my anything I want to know, I'm deploying my means of knowledge. Either my given means of knowledge which have been given to me by God, or means of knowledge that I have developed to further supplement them. What's a telescope? A telescope is a better pair of eyes. It takes what we know through our eyes and magnifies it hugely. So it's sort of it's better eyes, right? Similarly, all these sensors are better skin. We feel the vibrations in the skin, but using a sensor, we can feel vibrations which you won't feel otherwise. So all these things, basically means of knowledge or extended means of knowledge, we can deploy to know things. But we can't do that for our mind, for ourselves. So who am I? How do I know? How do I know more about this self who I know exists? There's no doubt it exists because it sees. We are clear about that. But how can I know more about it? So there is no way of knowing, except they say that the means of knowledge for yourself, just like you want to know about the moon, what's the means of knowledge for knowing more about the moon? A scientist who has gone to the moon, an expert who understands the moon, he will tell you, मैंने ये experiment करे, उसमें the rocks were the same. I found that the rocks were the same as the rocks that were found in the world, in our Earth, many millennia years ago. They're the same rocks. So they did some experiments. They concluded the moon must have been generated from the Earth because all this evidence is pointing there. So there's somebody who's done all this work for you. You trust it, science or testimony or a bunch of scientists. They tell you, and you say, okay, now I know. So you're using the testimony of somebody as a means of knowledge. Of course, you're using your own pramana too because they tell you, so you have to listen to it by your ears or read from your eyes, whatever they're saying, but you're using the testimony. Similarly, for knowing yourself, the testimony comes from Vedant. Vedant tells you that you are not just this limited thing, you are the unlimited thing. You are the thing which is eternal, which cannot be defined, which cannot be described, which cannot be understood, which cannot be thought about, which cannot be experienced by any means of knowledge, right? But without which there can be no experience. So Vedant is the expert here because people who've written or who've sort of developed Vedanta over the years have given this matter a lot of thought. They have studied it, they have understood it, they have spent time and effort on it, they have thought about it, they've had intuitions about it, and they've come up with this knowledge. Now, the thing to remember about the means of knowledge is that a means of knowledge is valid if nothing else is there to contradict it. So, suppose I tell you that you go to the moon and the scientists tell you the moon came from the earth and here's the evidence. But you find through some other reason, through some means, you find, okay, moon has this, later on you find moon has this chemical or this element which never was seen before. We didn't even know. It has an atomic number of 1000. Impossible. That element exists on the moon. Then you'll say, no, 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 no. Now I have a big doubt because the moon could not have come from the earth because this element does not exist on the earth. As long as I didn't know that it existed, as long as I saw all that, I was ready to believe. But now you're saying, no, I won't, because this means of knowledge, the Shabda Pramana of the scientists, is being contradicted by some other means of knowledge, which is using inference to come up with some conclusion. So you will no longer trust or believe that means of knowledge. It's gone. So you have to apply the same logic on Vedanta. Now, Vedanta has told you that you are eternal, you are Sat Chit Ananda, you are happiness itself, you are whole, you are eternal, you are asanga, unattached, you are the basis of everything. This is a dramatic statement. You know, like the first time anybody hears it, they'll really, it'll shake them. But you're willing to listen because you have Shraddha. You say, okay, Vedanta keh raha hai, through the ages, Vedanta has got such reputation. My parents are talking big about Vedanta. Gita is saying big about Vedanta. Everybody talks about Vedanta and Gita. I have some respect for Vedanta, some Shraddha. So let me listen to what it's saying. You listen, but you're not going to be convinced because you need supporting data, supporting evidence to say that yes, the claim that it's making about you, right, actually stands to reason. It is consistent with my experience. It has to be said by Vedanta, Shruti. It's called Shruti. Shruti Brahmani, Shruti means it's said by Vedanta. It has to be logical. That is called Yukti. That means it has to make logical sense. So, for example, if it says it is eternal outside space and time, now you think about it, it makes perfect sense. Because how did you know space and time? You see space, you know that space and time exist only when your apparatus is working. Only when your apparatus for perception, the pramana, is working, only then space and time come. When the perception, the apparatus of space and time is gone, like in deep sleep, there is no experience of space and time. There is no space and time. When you are going through an operating table on an operating table and you are anesthetized, there is no space and time. So you say, yeah, that makes sense. Actually, the space and time is something that I have come to know using my means of knowledge. It's not the one that is using the means of knowledge. That I have had this experience of no space and no time. I have that experience every night of no space and no time. So I am not I mean, like, I am not in space and time makes sense. So this kind of an understanding or analysis, more and more, this is just, I'm just giving you one small example, is called yukti. So Shruti, Yukti, and the third is Anubhava. Your experience should match what Vedanta is telling you. That's called Anubhava. So you need Shruti, Yukti, and Anubhava. When these three things are in place and there's nothing else to contradict, then you know yourself. You know that I am eternal, that I am um, Asangha, that I am Ananda itself, without a doubt. Then you get the knowledge. And that's the purpose of Vedanta. That's all Vedanta needs to do, is to give you this knowledge. Once you have this knowledge, you can throw Vedanta away. So, what is Vedanta? Vedanta is a means of knowledge, a pramana to know yourself. But to apply that pramana, to properly know, you don't have to just take what Vedanta is saying. You have to go through this analysis. You have to go through this sort of yukti and anubhav. Then, after that, you don't have to do it again. Next time the Vedanta says it, you're not going to you'll say, yeah, Vedanta is the pramana. I believe it. Yeah, it's done. Over. Matter's over. It's like your eyes. I can imagine first time when I started using my eyes as a little child, I probably wouldn't know what it's telling me. Then I see something, I would have to probably touch it. Is it really there? Because just because eyes are saying it, I wouldn't believe it. So a little child would usually touch those things. A little child would probably bounce it, throw it. Is it really there? He's trying to figure out, what what is it that I'm seeing, how to make sense of what I'm seeing. He doesn't believe his eyes. Because just because the eyes say that there is something in front of me, I don't believe it's there. I'm going to throw it, I'm going to kick it, I'm going to smell it, I'm going to touch it. Then I will know, like everything is telling me that there is something, it exists. Slowly you start developing trust in your eyes. Then you don't need all that. Eyes show you, you're good. You're beginning to use the eyes as a pramana just by themselves after that. Because you have shraddha, you have trust in your eyes. That's why you use it. A truck is coming in front of you, you're not going to think, oh, is the truck coming? Let me touch and see. You'll just get out of the way because you have trust in your eyes. But a little child probably won't, who's seeing a truck for the first time, probably won't just get out of the way. He'll say, no, no, let me touch it and see, is it there? What is it that I'm seeing? Like, I don't know how to make sense of it. So when Vedanta becomes the pramana for you don't have to think every time, oh, okay, Vedanta said this, it tallies with this, tallies with this. You don't have to do that after that. But till it becomes a proper pramana, you will have to. So that is what it means to say Vedanta is a pramana. And like Carol and all our guru and everybody, they keep saying, Swamiji knows how to wield Vedanta as a pramana, which means, like he knows how to teach Vedanta in a way that you understand it as a pramana, not as just another text of something interesting. Meaning, every time you listen to Vedanta, your direction or your attention should be on what it's telling you about yourself. It's a means to yourself. It's not a object of study in itself. Like it can be if you want to, eyes can be an object of study in themselves, but
Yeah.
you don't use your eyes that way. You use your eyes to see. So what will you use Vedanta? To see yourself. So your attention should be on yourself. That's what it means.
So I have a question.
Yeah, yeah. I'm done basically. So anybody any questions now?
For all of us, Vedanta is the only pramana for to know ourselves. But Vedanta was developed, it came about at some point. So there must have been some pramana before Vedanta became a pramana. Otherwise, how did Vedanta come into being?
Well, you can answer the question yourself. You tell me. What is your answer to that question? I mean, I don't have any other. I mean, there's nothing. There's nothing. I mean, if you ask the Shruti, if you ask the Gita, or with Upanishad,
I
they'll say
asked
Vedanta has always
Carol.
been there.
I mean, I've
It
asked
was written
Carol,
by
and she
God.
said that it's always been there. So
Uh,
it's not
so
very
then I think
satisfying.
now, rather than question answer, let's have a discussion. You tell me what you think rather than just ask the question, because otherwise we just keep putting the question.
Yeah.
Let's start thinking. You know,
Okay. So
you know a lot.
the only thought that I have about it is that, even though you said that by meditation you don't achieve anything, but it seems to me that there must have been, before Vedanta was there, there must have been a very there must have been a tradition of very particular kind of meditation or something to arrive at, okay, who is this one who's having an experience? And then that contradicts what you said, that there can only be one pramana. So but honestly, I've never come to a clear understanding of if Vedanta is the only pramana, then what was the pramana before Vedanta for it to become a pramana?
Good question. Any
The
thoughts?
it maybe the way I would think about it is, when you are talking about Brahman, there is no before and after, because Brahman has always been there. So, I mean, yeah, I mean that's what I would kind of root the answer to.
But the pramana, Brahman doesn't need a pramana. Pramana is needed by the jivas.
Yes.
And if the jiva has a samanya gyan, but not a particular knowledge of themselves, and the pramana is meant to give you particular knowledge of yourself as Brahman, then where does that come from in the first place? Before, now we are saying that our only means of knowledge is Vedanta.
But you have to remember what Vedant means. Okay, it doesn't mean the texture, the
Yeah,
scripture which is
yeah,
written in the
yeah,
scripture. That's what
yeah,
Vedant means. What does
yeah.
Vedant mean?
Vedant means anything. Like you said, I think even your friend can tell you Tattvamasi. That's Vedant.
Any thought, the thought that I am, I am uncognizable, that I am something beyond cognition, that I am beyond space and time. That thought is Vedanta. So
So
that
then
thought,
sorry.
once you say I'm uncognizable, or you say I'm beyond space and time, everything else follows. That you're a sangha follows, that you're ananda follows. It all follows. There's no. It's not like a big stretch. The stretch is to say I am beyond space and time. Anything which is beyond space and time, you'll know cannot have dimension because it has been space to have dimension. It can't. It cannot be anything but eternal because it's beyond time. You need time for something to be non-eternal or forever or not forever. So that part, that part is not, you don't need huge Vedantic insights. The real insight is this little jump, which says, I am not a part of this world, but I am outside it. I'm outside space and time. Everything I'm seeing is space and time. I'm outside space and time. That little jump is needed. That's Vedanta.
Yeah. I understand. I actually finally understand the answer to my question, which is that in my mind, I used to equate Vedant to that hasn't lifted yet. I used to equate Vedant to Upanishad, but it's the thought. It's the thought that Vedant. So that thought can occur to
Okay. He
anybody.
finally
And then,
got in. I've been saying this every like so many
I
times
know,
now.
I know. I'm sorry. It just took me so long, like because it's been embedded in my brain that
Okay.
Vedanta is
Okay, good.
Upanishad.
I'm glad that it's finally there.
In
Yes.
fact,
So
I was going
you
to say this only that what I have understood is when you say Vedant, it means that the end of the Vedas and the Upanishads. But right now, what we have come to is that the thought that Brahman or the we are, when we think talk about that, that is Vedant,
Yeah.
absolutely.
isn't
Yeah.
it so?
And then
And that
that
has always been
answers.
the that's what Swamiji has been saying all along. And I've been trying to say, but the like the everything else follows from there.
Mm.
Like there's nothing. If the moment you say, like, can you imagine that something is not in space and time, right? But it is not eternal. Is it possible? What does eternal mean? Like, what does it mean to say something is born and dies? If something is changing, if there's any change at all, there has to be time involved.
Mhm.
Change always is happening over time, right? Change means abhi main aise hu, next moment I'm something else. Whenever you say I'm here and next moment is something else, there's time involved. There are two different moments. That's time. But if something is outside time, that means there is no time is not experienced, there is no time. How can there be any change? How can there be any dimension? And the thing is, this is not so, it seems so fantastical to us, but it's not. You just look back at you during deep sleep. You literally you go through that state every day. But we don't think about it like that. Our brain is not oriented. So all Vedanta is doing is trying to slowly orient your brain towards that. And it's doing through by stories, through Upanishads, through Gita, through Tattvamasi kind of things, through paramparas. And it requires all this paraphernalia, this huge paraphernalia, because it is so counterintuitive. So people have to, this paraphernalia first takes you, it starts saying, before you can start thinking like this, you have to get rid of the other thoughts which are predominant in your mind all the time, which are coming from your desires and everything. You take care of those first. So Vedanta says, okay, start from there. Get your get your house in order. get your mind clean, straight. Then, maybe, okay, then slowly, but that is it. That is all there is. Now, you don't need, somebody can have this thought intuitively. Somebody can just
Yeah.
come one day say, yeah, I know it. I am like that. Like Raman Maharishi or somebody in America or somebody in Italy, anywhere can have that. Or Muhammad, can have it. Jesus Christ can have it. Anybody can have it. They are as much Vedantin, from the way we describe it, as as Swami Vivekananda or whoever else you want to, or Shankaracharya.
But then that means Vedanta is just a particular thought. So why it is still a
No,
thought. It is
can you
still
please stop
employing.
repeating again and again the same thing? Like,
No, no, I'm saying, just listen to my question.
okay,
I'm
okay,
saying
yeah,
that you had said that the mool pramana
right,
is sense organs and mind.
right.
So really, then this is also employing that same mool pramana.
What did
Why?
I say right at the beginning? That you can't even use Vedanta, understand Vedanta without employing the Mool Pramana.
But you had also said, like, didn't Swamiji? I'm trying to understand the Swamiji's focus on, where he said like it's almost like a separate category because the thought is a particular thought. That's why I guess.
I mean, it's not, you can say I mean, I don't know. I'm not aware of that. How is it a separate category? It's a thought.
Yeah.
It's a separate category in the sense that the thought has a different effect. Like you're talking about vritti prapti and phala prapti, maybe. Because in most thoughts have the effect of knowing something, like a thought about something tells you a knowledge about that thing. So a thought about Vedanta will give you knowledge about Vedanta. But a thought about Vedanta is giving you knowledge about yourself. It's like that. Like nothing else gives you knowledge. The result of the thought, the result of the knowledge is always the knowledge of an object. You're studying science, you'll know something about another object. You're studying chemistry or medical or whatever, you'll know something about outside. You're studying psychology, you'll know something about thoughts. But this is the only thought which gives the knowledge not about the piece, the object, but the thing looking at that object, it gives you the knowledge of the subject. That's what it is. By understanding Vedanta, it gives you not a knowledge of what is written in the Vedanta text. It gives you knowledge about yourself.
Yeah.
So usually the knower, every other thought, with the knower gets a knowledge about the object. The subject gets a knowledge about the object. Here the subject is using the object is getting a knowledge about the subject.
Mhm.
So that is how it is different. As you can say, I mean, I guess that's what he meant. I don't know
Mhm.
exactly.
Mhm.
Okay, my take.
Huh.
Mhm.
Okay.
Huh.
I think Vedanta is basically knowledge, you see. And this knowledge, let's say about 10,000 years ago, this written knowledge, written scriptures, Upanishads, Gita, nothing was available, you see. But the quality of people of those times, they were very, very pure souls at that time, and they had a deep connection with Brahman, or they had the same questions like we have. Who am I? Why am I here? Where will I go? Even they face the same questions. And people, they started researching and self-analyzing and going. And since they were very, very pure souls, they would go into deep states of meditation in which they could get all these answers. And after analyzing these answers and using itself with their own selves, they would come out with all these verses which are in Upanishads. Okay. So all this has been coming from the Upanishads from that time in which the souls were very, what we call Satyug, the Satyug era, which produced all these Upanishads and everything. Now, when we come to the later stage, like Buddha, like Christ, like Muhammad, like Guru Nanak, or Guruji and everything, what exactly happens? They are normal human beings. and they have these questions, and then they go for searching all these answers until they come to a stage of realization. And once realization happens, they all of them will give you the same knowledge, the same things, which was there in which has been uh, given by our Upanishads and Gita and everything. If
Correct.
you see the substratum of knowledge everywhere, it's the same.
Yeah.
But only that comes when they reach that stage of enlightenment. Now, what is the change that happens when they reach that state of enlightenment? That's a big thought process.
Yeah, no, I mean, actually, who knows, yeah? I don't really know. And beyond a point, what difference does it make? Like, why, like, why not, if you're interested, why not investigate what it's saying, right? Rather than spend our time thinking about where it came from, or that's my understanding. I'm not
Yeah,
saying
yeah.
Vicky, what you're saying is incorrect. I'm just this is my take on it. Because these are unanswerable questions. Like what was there before the Big Bang? Like what kind of a like how can you answer this question? Because this question of what comes before or what is the cause of what is what is called Mayajal.
Hmm.
You
Yeah,
get
yeah.
into a Mayajal because you can't, there is no answer to these questions. The answer to this question is that these are all thoughts. Even the thought which has come to your mind, oh, what happened before this, is another thought. So Vedanta is not concerned with these. It doesn't want to get into this Mayajal of what came from where. That's what science is in. That's what we are in all the time. Vedanta is saying step away from that because know that those are unanswerable things. Whatever answer you come up with, there will always be another one before it. It's like saying, what is the world made of? We went through that analysis, right? It's a ring made out of gold. What is gold made out of? Atoms. Atoms made out of something else. You can't, you're not going to get an answer through this means because all these things are mithya. All these questions about Vedanta, where is Vedanta coming from, with what is Vedanta, is also mithya. And mithya is nothing but a thought. So it's saying step away from it and see who's the thinker. And maybe now Vedanta has given you another clue. It's telling you something more about the thinker. So think about that. So it's that's the way I see it anyway. But it's like honestly, like there is no satisfactory answer to this this question in
No,
my
what
opinion.
I said was it's just a framework to understand the concepts of Vedanta and what Vedanta is trying to say, and just try to see okay, what change what change happened in Gutta Buddha and when he became Gautam Buddha. What change transpired in him? What was he looking for? And when he reached that state, what made the difference?
Yeah, I mean you can.
You see?
Yeah. I mean, like what becomes a jnani? So, like for example, in Krishna, in Gita, in chapter 3 or chapter 2, Arjun asks him, you know, who's a jnani? How does he walk and talk? Like, what happens? Like, tell me more about this jnani. When he becomes a jnani, what happened to him? Is he the same as me, or somebody totally different, or what did he go through? Right. So the same sort of question. And Krishna Bhagavan does answer it, so we can always refer to that.
So, isn't it, aren't we going to the path where we can go to that Jnani state? Aren't we looking for that path?
Yeah, that's the whole idea. So in the Gita, actually, it's very interesting. Let me What time is it?
10 more minutes, you
Oh.
can go.
So, no, I mean, I'm thinking maybe next time I wanted to take you through the overview, the first introduction that Shankaracharya wrote to the Gita, because his
Mhm.
introductions are very interesting.
Mhm.
Just so you know, and I'm going to answer your question. Don't worry. So
Mhm.
the Kiki, sorry, did you have anything else?
Mm.
Huh? I
My
didn't. I didn't
question
mean to
is
get you quiet. I didn't mean to kind of shut you
no,
down.
no, no, no. Actually, my
Just because you're
question
my
is
sister, I take liberties with you.
I
So
know, I understand. It's okay.
okay,
I forgive you. What I'm
okay,
saying is that my question has been very satisfactorily answered today
okay,
because
wonderful.
I think that this, it hasn't, it's the first time
Okay,
Carol through all these years never stressed that. Or I
okay,
didn't hear it. Maybe she
got
stressed
it.
it.
Yeah, chalo, ठीक है. So what I was trying to say was that in the Brahma Sutras, right, which is that Shankar has two or three very well-known commentaries, important commentaries. One is the Brahma Sutras, which is very, very famous. It's called Shankar Bhashyam, right? In fact, when you say Shankar Bhashyam, it means Brahma Sutras. It means commentary. Bhashyam means commentary. And then another one is the Gita. And another one is, I think, the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. On that, he wrote a very big, involved commentary. So, in the Brahma Sutras commentary, he takes out a particular piece and he emphasizes it. So, in Brahma Sutras, he took a piece called Adhyasa, superimposition, the concept of superimposition, and he completely analyzed it. And that's why the introduction to Shankaracharya's commentary on the Brahma Sutra is called Adhyasa Bhashyam. It's called the commentary on Adhyasa itself. And Adhyasa is the key linchpin on which Advait Vedanta stands. Like, for example, the big question to Advait Vedanta is people who don't believe in Advait Vedanta, they ask the question. They say, if everything is one, how do you explain the world? There is a world of diversity. How do you explain it? And that question is answered through the concept of Adhyasa. So Shankaracharya says, or Advait Vedanta says, that the world is a superimposition on Brahman. It's just like a snake and a rope. When you see a rope and you mistake it for a snake, what you're doing is you're superimposing a snake on a rope in your mind. So that process is called adhyasa. So Shankar has written, he's taken out the concept of adhyasa and written this whole introduction on it. It's called Adhyasa Bhashyam. He's described what adhyasa is. How does it happen? Why does it not happen? What are the people are saying against it? He's countering all of that. So it's a bloody text in itself. And he does it so much, he spent so much time on this because he wanted to establish Advait Vedanta. He wanted to say, this is the way that you have to look at Brahma Sutra from this standpoint. When Brahma Sutra says something is name only or something, it means this adhyasa. So that is how he said. And he does the same thing with the Gita. So in the Gita, he takes out one thing. And the one thing that he takes out in the Gita and the whole introduction he talks about is this concept um, of yogi and a jnani. He says again and again, Bhagwan Ji in the Gita emphasizes these two things. That there is that he emphasizes Sankhya. Sankhya is knowledge. And a person who is a jnani, who knows himself, that's one thing. The other, he says, is yogi. A yogi is like a karma yogi, जो तू बता रहा है संजय. A yogi is a person who doesn't yet know himself. But he defines the yogi. He says he doesn't know himself, but he knows that he is not his mind and body. So a yogi is a person who knows that there is a difference between the deha and the atma. He understands the difference between deha and atma, but he doesn't know himself. His gyan is about a yogi's qualifications are dharma and adharma. He knows the difference between dharma and adharma. He knows what is dharmic. He knows what ethical living is. He lives ethically. And he knows that I am separate from my body. He knows that. That is a yogi. But that is not it's an anekatva buddhi. He says there's a ekatva buddhi and anekatva buddhi. So this is an anekatva buddhi. In his mind, there is multiple things. There is a God, there is the world, there is everything. He's relating to the world, he has expectations, all of that. So if you see, the Karam Yoga is all about this. It's talking about a person who's living in this world, in a world of duality. But a Sankhya, he calls a Jnani Sankhyaha. So Sankhyaha, meaning those people who have Sankhya Buddhi, they have not Dharma Adharma Viveka, they have Nitya Anitya Viveka. In other words, they know what is eternal and what is not. They have Ekatva Buddhi. When they look at the world, they see oneness, right? And they have Paramartha Gyan, they have self knowledge. So that he says the two cannot mix. And that is what he's talking about in the introduction. He says in the Gita, you will find, because then he takes there is something called Samuchayavada, which means there are people who say you need everything. You need to be a Karam Yogi, but also knowledge. You need both together. You need to have knowledge of yourself, you need to be Karam Yogi, and that is called Samuchayavad. And he demolishes it. He says that is not possible. He says it's not possible for a person to have both these buddhis. You either have an anekatva buddhi or you have an ekatva buddhi. And find which buddhi you have. I mean, it is really, I mean, I know everybody says it, but once you read it in black and white in Sanskrit, and then I translated it with my Sanskrit teacher and through the net, I will share it with you. I wanted to actually share it with you, but I'll share it with you next time. It will become very clear. The questions we are asking are anekatva buddhi. We are living in anekatva buddhi. So Shankar's advice to us is, fine, understand you're in the anekatva buddhi, deal with your anekatva buddhi. Deal with the questions that are in your mind today. Because the Sankhya buddhi is very different. It is not about knowing that there is one Brahman. It's not about conceptually knowing that there is a Brahman. It's about actually knowing that Brahman is real and there's a Naikatva, all these things, all these questions you have, all these everything else, this is all mithya. But we don't. I will say this again and again. I will hear it again and again. But again and again we fall back into the mithya trap. All our questions are about mithya only. How did this happen? When did this happen? Why did this happen? We are all the time in that. So what we have is an ekatva buddhi right now. Much as our ego might say, I want to have a ekatva buddhi because supposedly that's good. But we don't, right? If we don't, then you have to be a karam yogi. And he says, don't be confused about these two things. Don't think that you can have both because you cannot. And this is the framework in which he looks at Gita. He's established this framework up front so that everything from here on now, when he describes the Gita, you will be able to see, okay, this is coming from an ekatva buddhi, this is coming from an anekatva buddhi. And he's clarifying it. And he has to do it because if he doesn't do it, you will not be finding support you won't be able to see Gita as a Shruti for Advait Vedanta. Because then otherwise they'll say, Gita तो वही बात कर रही है कि लड़ाई करो, ये करो, वो करो, दूसरों के साथ अच्छा बनो, have amanitva, have adambhitva, like be humble, be devotional. It's all anekatva buddhi. Correct? But in between, it's also saying things, you are nothing but me. You are eternal. Na tveva ham jatu nasam, neme ye janadi paha. Something like that. ना मैं ना ये जनादी पहा मतलब like ना तुम कभी जिंदा हुए ना तुम कभी मरे, all these things also it's saying in between. So it's ekatva buddhi when it's saying that, and ekatva buddhi when it's saying that, and the two do not mix. So this is the insight from Shankaracharya in his overview of the Gita. So we'll go through this in more detail if you are interested next time. Otherwise, I just wanted to leave you with that. So let's not get confused ourselves between the two things. At least that's my takeaway from reading that. Whatever it's worth, I wanted to share.
Madla, Dheeraj, you have already confused us so much, and then don't get confused.
I think forget it. Mitti Ball. We go into, yeah. We will just do Gita one by one. The few remaining things, it's actually very interesting. अभी जब 17th or 18th chapter में ना, he talks about everything from a perspective of sattva, rajas, tamas. उसमें now he's defined sattva, rajas, tamas very differently. He says here sattva means दैवी. तो को याद है ना हमने करा था इसमें दैवी और असुरा. So sattva means devi qualities, desirable qualities. Rajas means asura qualities, not necessarily desirable qualities. But he's defined a third category that is called rakshas, which is tamas. So, so sattva, I mean, sorry, devi means the good, like the devatas and all. Asura means people who are uh, fascinated and obsessed by material things, money, lust, all these things, like we are in a way, right? Asura. Rakshas is the third category, those who are bent on destruction. Those who are not, it's not कि वो they are on their own self interested in क्या कहते हैं, material things. They want to destroy what is there. That's the difference between asuras and the rakshasas. So राक्षस जो होते थे ना पुराने जमाने में वो तोड़ फोड़ करते थे. If you remember in the Purans and all that, वो सब तोड़ते थे, सबको मारते थे. असुरा ऐसे नहीं थे.
ट्रम्प कौन सी कैटेगरी में?
God knows.
God knows.
Trump is actually, I wouldn't classify him as a killer because he's
An
afraid
asura,
of.
not a rakshas, huh?
Yeah, I mean he has a lot of challenges, but that's not one of them.
So asura, rakshas, right? So then what Gita says is जो rakshas qualities हैं, which is tamasic qualities, you have to get rid of right away, urgently. जो rajasic qualities हैं, which is asura, you have to work on over time, get rid of them. And the devi qualities you have to emphasize, you have to grow. So now he will start looking at different things. He'll say Gyan. What is Rajasic Gyan? What is Tamasic Gyan? What is Sattvic Gyan? Sattvic Gyan, I mean, this is like, I'll ask you these questions, you'll be able to tell yourself based on your knowledge. That's why I say this is a repetition or a revision. Sattvic Gyan kya hoga? Knowledge about yourself, right? That is Sattvic Gyan. Rajasic Gyan hoga, knowledge about the world or knowledge of things. Tamasic Gyan hoga, knowledge which destroys. So ऐसे करके, so he goes through like 7 or 8 different things. Shraddha, किस तरह की है? 3 तरीके की. So it'll be very fun. It's away from all this Atma Shatma stuff, all the Paramarthik stuff, but something more tangible. So we'll do it next time. I say all this because I don't want you to lose interest. So मैं तुमको बता रहा हूँ कि next time we will not talk about this nonsense.
No, it's not. I think
I know, you, Kiki, I know for you, but like not for everybody. But
I thoroughly enjoyed the session today. I think that it is simple at its core, but it's so important to understand it, right?
Yeah, but I think we should also understand, at least I feel, what Shankaracharya is saying in his introduction. Not to get confused between those two things. Get your goal clear. Like, this getting too much into this philosophical academic loops. I don't know, this is just my thought. It may not be a good thing. Anyway.
I mean, I think what you're saying is you shouldn't be overthinking, keep it simple, I think is what
keep it simple
and
and focus on self-purification, focus on Anthakarna Shuddhi. Carol kept saying this all the time. Every time I talked to her, she said the same thing to me, Anthakarna Shuddhi. Because everything follows from there, till that core is not strong, everything else will be sort of, it's all fantasy. Maybe that's a little too extreme, but that's what I think.
I still continue to think that my challenge always is, drawing the line between that, I can never experience the, unexperienceable. And that needs to be sort of drilled into me over and over again. You get lost in experiences all the time, and then you
Right.
shift again back to
So
to
because we don't
experience.
have ekatva buddhi, right? I mean,
Yeah,
now
yeah, that's what I'm
it becomes
saying.
very
But
clear when you listen to this, what Shankar is
yeah,
saying.
so I think the thought point is as simple as that, right? If you actually start building that, and understand, the ups and downs can be explained by what your senses and your mind is going through. Rest of it is just still constant and unchangeable and untouchable. I think that's the thing for me, is just hit on that and focus on that.
Well, and also focus on Antakarna Shuddhi.
Should be, yeah.
See,
I mean, those are
maybe
all
Karana Yogi,
instruments
like
that
see
help you get there.
what are the reasons for your ups and downs in life? What's causing them? How can you get a better handle on them? How to know your mind a little bit more? Things like that. Mukta, you've been very quiet. We can't end without hearing from you.
Actually, I after having even understood it quite a lot, but then again I've become confused. Where that simple sentence, Tat Tvamasi, you are that. About that, I have again gone into a loop, and I'm trying to understand it all over again. I'm getting confused at the point. I understand that Brahman is the ground of me also, and it is the ground of the world also. But when when we say you are that, when they come back to this point and say ki you are that means you are Brahman, right? But then Brahman is the world also, and then from there only, of course, they lead to the fact that it is an appearance. The world is an appearance, and even our bodies and all that is also an appearance. I don't know how, but I've got all.
So, like, the Aham Brahmasmi, is that easier to understand than Tattvamasi?
Yes, yes,
I also feel so. I also think Aham Brahmasmi is a much easier sentence to understand than Tattvamasi.
yes, yes,
Because Tattvamasi is inherently, it's very I don't, because it's already bringing a division first and then saying there is no division. So, but it's it's the reason why it is like that is because the teacher is saying this to the other person. Because the other person is asking. If you look at the Chandogya Upanishad जिसमें ये लिखा हुआ है, the context is that the guy kept asking, मैं कौन हूँ? So the teacher kept telling him, you are that. Then he said, मैं ये हूँ क्या? Then he said, no, 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 you are that. So ऐसे करके so you are that, so that is तत्वमसि. So teacher ऐसे बोल रहा था तो उन्होंने तत्वमसि वहां से ले लिया. But maybe
okay,
the easier way to think about it is Aham Brahmasmi, if that is what
okay.
easier. I mean,
That
you
is
always
that
think
is
like
fine.
that.
Brahmasmi is also fine.
Yeah.
But जब वर्ल्ड को जब appearance की तरह बोलते हैं हम कि वेदांत में the world is an appearance and you are that.
No, no, and I am that.
I am that. I am what? I am the Brahman.
Also the world,
I am also the
everything.
world.
Yeah,
The world is a superimposition on you. Okay, that
you are the thing which in which the world is is an what is it called? What did you call it? Appearance, right?
yeah.
So if you are the thing in which the world is an appearance, the appearance is in you only. You're the
It does it
you.
does it mean that supposing I die, I'm finished. I'm no more.
Who dies?
The world disappears for me.
No, no, but who dies? The body dies, you're saying.
Yeah, the body dies. Yes,
Okay. The
and
body,
then,
the body is not the a Brahman. It's not the
yeah,
body in which, when they say the world is in you, he is not referring to your mind or your body. As long as you keep thinking, I am this separate individual, the mind. So this is not trying to say that तुम एक individual हो, and then it's trying to bring the world into you. This
Yeah,
is
right.
trying to say कि तुम सोचो मैं individual हूँ. He's trying to move you from this understanding me as an individual to me as the world. It's you who's doing the movement. The world is there only. Okay? It's trying to say, as long as you keep thinking that I am this Mukta, which is separate from Sanjay and Dheeraj and everybody else, then you're not Brahmasmi. Then you can't say I'm Brahma because you're Mukta. So when you say I am Brahma means I'm trying to say I am not the Mukta, I'm actually Brahman. So the disconnect that you have to make is between Mukta, body, mind, and yourself. You see? No.
I don't know. Suddenly I've got confused. I don't know why or how this happened.
No, no, it's
I
okay. It's
I was
normal,
trying
natural.
to understand, and I had understood this, but somewhere again
But I
this.
think that the question is, let's say Aham Brahmasmi, let's say you take that.
Yeah,
अभी तू क्या सोचती है? You think Aham means I, right? I am.
yeah,
So अभी हम सोचते हैं Aham Mukta. That's what you think. When you think about me, Aham, you think you're Mukta. You say, okay, I'm not the body, I'm the Atma. My inner self is me. Correct? That much you understand.
yeah.
Is there any confusion in saying I am the
No,
Atma but not the body?
no
So
confusion there.
so that is the purpose of the first part of the Gita, to tell you to that place. So you are the Atma, you're not the body, but you are still your own Atma. Correct? You're Mukta's Atma,
Yeah,
right? That's how you see it.
yeah,
And you're seeing the world outside, and you're thinking
yeah,
this person is saying Tattvamasi or Aham Brahmasmi, and this world outside projected by my Atma, that this world is an impression on my Atma. So what it's trying to say is no, that is not correct. You are not your Atma. You're not your body. You're not your mind. You're not your Atma either. You are the Atma. The Atma, which in which the world is projected, you are that Atma. So he's trying to remove any trace of individuality altogether. Because otherwise what we think is कि मैं, let's say I'm talking about me, so मैं सोचूंगा मेरी आत्मा, this me, which I see as different from everybody else, actually the whole world is projected in this. That's not the way to think about it. This, what
so
they're saying is, yeah, yeah,
that means if I understand it like this, that there is Brahman, okay, and I, that is myself, Mukta, or my body, mind, and the whole world, all everything together is a projection of that Brahman.
absolutely. That's it.
Okay.
Everything, including your mind, your consciousness, your whatever you want to call it, whatever you say is mine. You say my Atma, even that Atma then. You say my body. Whatever you want to say is a projection of that Brahman. That's what you need to know. It says Aham Brahmasmi means it's just trying to say that and that Brahman of which you are all a projection of is not different from you. Because you're a projection of Brahman, then that means you are Brahman itself. See, the projection is not separate from the thing it's projected from. It's not a different thing. Correct? Let's say you project something in your mind and you project a thought. अब तूने project करी है वो thought. In that thought, you're thinking something. That thought is not different from you because it's a projection of you. So if you are a projection of Brahman, you can't be separate from Brahman because you're a projection of Brahman. That's what you are. So what you call you, me, Mukta, is just a projection of Brahman. Now he's saying, in another way of saying it is to say that there is nothing else, there's no other I but Brahman. Any other I that I can think of is just a projection. So the only place for I to go is Brahman. That's what it's trying to say. But maybe it's easier to say that this you also are a projection of Brahman. That may be a good place for right now, just the way you're thinking. Everything that you're separately identifying as yourself or thinking about yourself or whatever comes to your mind, just say that's a projection of Brahman. Or what did you call it?
Appearance.
appearance in Brahman. Yeah, that's it. That is clear, right? That is, you can think like that.
Let
That's easier
me.
than saying aham, because aham, the problem with these aham words and tat, you, and even aham that way, now I'm thinking, is that it starts with this I, which we all have a very solid sort of thing about I. Yeah, I'm separate. And then it's trying to say you're separate, but you're actually that thing too. It has to be really properly explained.
Okay.
Okay,
Let's see
so time to
how
sleep.
it assimilates.
We'll talk again, यार हमको क्या है? We got time.
Uh-huh. Yeah, definitely.
अभी गीता खत्म हो जाएगी, then we can just relax and chat. ठीक है? Okay,
Okay.
call it a day.
Chalo,
All right.
Mukta, you have 14 days to accumulate when we meet in person, and then we
We're not
can
gonna,
clarify
No,
we're
no,
more.
not going to
28
meet in
days.
14 days. Yeah.
28 days. Because we are not meeting next time, na? 2 हफ्ते के
Yeah.
We are meeting in person, na?
Those guys, those guys at 9:20. Okay, मेरे को लगता है they'll be done pretty soon. तो उनको कोई
Okay,
जाना देगी.
okay, मैं आ रहा हूँ नीचे. Okay, चलो.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.